Central, in the Southern Central Freight. Gotta keep on pushing, mama. There's nowhere running vain without love. Where would you be now, now, now? Without love.
Everybody, how are you? Woohoo! Excellent. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Toronto. My name is Tanis Burnett, also known as the Announcement Lady, and in your program you have the announcements listed. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you to everybody who donated for the Red Door Shelter. We have a lovely pile of goodies out front that will be delivered to them this week. Two things I want to point out on the announcements: the annual general meeting, which is August 25th. No, will be January 25th, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. If you are interested in joining the board of directors, please make your interest known to Helen Vallot, who will be up shortly, so you'll know what she looks like, as if you didn't know by now, or Reverend Jonathan or Carmen in the office. As I understand it, there are 3 possibilities for elections this year, so if you're interested, speak to one of those wonderful people. Also on there, the women's group is listed, but Helen is going to postpone that until January. And while I'm talking about Helen, let's call her up to talk about another goodie for you. Helen Vallot, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning. On Saturday, January 3rd, I am going to hold a vision board workshop here at the center, where you will create your vision board. You'll connect what your purpose is, your soul's purpose, and create your vision for relationships, for wealth, for health, and your creative expression. And what I ask are 2 things. 1, please bring some magazines and photos that you'd like to put on your vision board. I'll supply the paper and the glue and the scissors. The other thing is I ask for a donation to be made to the Center for Spiritual Living as your ticket of admission. Okay? So come on out. It's from 10 to 1 on Saturday, January 3rd. And I'll see you then. Thanks.
Thanks, Helen.
Yes.
Do you believe that you could help or teach, have this work for a blind person?
Absolutely. Of course. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, it's anybody. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thanks. I'll see you then. All right. And now I would like to introduce up to the front here our wonderful, incredible, very talented. If you didn't see him last night in the Forte Men's Choir, it was stunning, absolutely breathtaking and inspiring. So we are so blessed to have this man as our spiritual director, and I invite up to the front Reverend Jonathan Zenz.
Thank you, Helen. Good morning. How is everyone this morning? Hi. Great. It's wonderful to have you all here joining us on this beautiful, beautiful Sunday morning. It is Sunday the 14th. It's the 2014th.
2014.
It's the 14th of December. I'm already to next week because I'm so excited, actually.
It's okay, I was in August.
I'm excited
so
about
sorry.
today, let's be clear, but I'm also excited about next week. I decided this week that we're going to have a 3-week series. So I'm announcing this to you today because the series starts today. Today's theme is peace. Today's theme is peace. Next week's theme is light. And the week following that, the theme is harmony. And I think that's a great way to round out the year and round out December in the holiday season. Peace, light, and harmony. So let's get this started by kicking it off with Down in My Soul. So Tennis is going to lead us in that. Lyrics are on the song sheet if you want to follow along.
Mm-hmm. And feel free to stand if that moves you. I hear the music.
I hear the music
Down in my soul.
down in my soul.
I hear the music.
I hear the music
Down in my soul.
down in my soul.
I hear the music.
I hear the music
Down in my soul.
down in my soul.
And the whole wide world is my home. I got a new day.
I got a new day
Down in my soul.
down in my soul.
I got a new day.
I got a new day
Down in my soul.
down in my soul.
I got a new day.
I got a new day
Down in my soul. And the whole wide world is my home. I feel the power
I feel the power
down in my soul.
down in my soul.
I feel the power
I feel the power
down in my soul.
down in my soul.
I feel the power
I feel the power
down in my soul. And the whole wide world is my home. Yes, it is. And the whole wide world is my home.
So let's take a breath. Take a breath. Remember, right where you are, God is. That is the truth. That is the truth that we teach here. God is everywhere present. And so right where you are, God is. God is present in its fullness. And God is not a personality. God is a principle. God is a lovely, lovely expression of creative energy. That's all it is. And so let's utilize that energy today in celebration. What do you say?
Yes.
Yes. I want to say welcome to anybody who's joining us for the first time. I want to say welcome to you. I want to say welcome to everybody who's joining us online as well, whether you're watching live in the archives. It's wonderful to know that you're part of this community and that we get to share this time together. So we have a beautiful core, yes we do, of practitioners and practitioner students. Not all of them live in this country. I know, shocking, isn't it? We have a practitioner student who has been living in Egypt for the past 3 years. Yes, she's been living in Egypt for the past 3 years. She has been joining the class through the use of technology, and she keeps in constant contact with me as her instructor, and she is a brilliant, brilliant mind. She is a brilliant mind, and utilizing this principle in a place where it's not necessarily the go-to principle, right? She's here to share some beautiful wisdom with all of us today. So please welcome, all the way from Egypt, joining us today, Sonia Byrne.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, this past week, it is my 3-year anniversary of having accepted a 2-week post in Cairo, which apparently I invited into my life very clearly, and it's been quite an experience. So I'm in town for a short while to celebrate the holidays and spoke with Jonathan, and he asked if I would lead today as practitioner. I'm happy to. My topic is conflict in the Middle East. I have 5 to 7 minutes. So I decided to narrow it down to my conflict in the Middle East. You know, it's interesting when you take off to a place that is so far away, and far away from maybe the way you think, and far away from the philosophy of this spiritual center. It's great that I'm able to stay in contact through technology. But you know, there's a saying, wherever you go, there's your head. So this geographical cure thing, don't try it. Because I went to Egypt, and what very quickly and promptly and right on time showed up was the kind of personalities that I struggled with in Canada, the same thoughts, the same beliefs, the same judgments, mine and others. And so I got to have this very localized experience, but in another part of the world. As part of our practitioner studies, we're reading 7,000 Ways to Listen. Okay, in case you didn't know, there's 7,000 ways. And so there's a passage here that I'd like to read, and it's about conflict, actually. And the author uses the reference of fire. So when you feel you're in conflict with someone, or perhaps there's an unresolved conflict in your life, you don't have to nod, but you know, there's often unresolved issues or conflict in our personal relationships with people, work, home, family, etc. And so he refers to them as fire, and here's what he says. There are still fires I'm afraid to go back into, and people I struggle with, unable to let them off the hook. As important as these thresholds are, I don't know how to cross them. The fear of being hurt unspeakably again and further is at the core of my inability to reclaim the hurt parts of my soul. I fear that whatever fire I need to go back into will devour me alive this time, and fear that in order to forgive, I may not survive the refeeling of the initial experience. Still, it is imperative to hold sacred the most uplifting ways of being on earth, even though we have trouble living those values sometimes day to day. Otherwise, we construct cold and even cruel philosophies to accommodate our limitations. Otherwise, we can minimize or nullify compassion as something not worth teaching, because we have trouble remembering to be kind. The truth is that life will break us and burn us at some point on the journey. This is not pessimistic or cynical, but descriptive of the geography of being alive. It is part of how we are transformed by the journey. So that piece really spoke to me, and that piece really spoke to me, the idea of having peace as well. The idea of when we are in conflict, whether you're talking about countries or companies or people, not everybody moves through it at the same pace, and that's okay. So over the past year in our workshops through the practitioner studies, we had to choose a quote at one point that really resonated with us. And the quote that I chose was a Rumi quote. I love Rumi, and I happen to be in his area in the world these days. So here it goes. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. I can say that today without crying, but there was a lot of time when it really resonated so deeply with me that it actually brought me to tears. In the workshop, I said that this quote belonged on every corporate boardroom wall throughout the world. And you got to be careful when you say such a thing, because apparently we're all one, and it can start with you. It can start with me. So I was in Dubai in September at a business meeting and stayed in the same hotel that I always stay in. I got in the elevator, and when I stepped in the elevator, something seemed a little different but familiar. There was one of those advertising wraps around the inside of the elevator with this Sufi dancer. Well, in this hotel at this exact time, there was an artistic display by a Pakistani artist who had taken Rumi's quotes and interpreted them in pictures. Well, I was in the right place at the right time. So in the business area, the business floor where our meetings were taking place, this whole art display was laid out, by the way, and it happened to be for sale as well. So I walk into day one of the meetings, and the very first picture I see, out beyond ideas of wrong, yeah, you get the picture, right? Well, I got the picture too. I thought, this is a message that must start with me. So I ended up purchasing this picture. And this picture now sits in my office in Cairo. Turn right at the pyramids. I'm about 10 kilometers away. really turn right at the pyramids. And so this is now in my office. And so it really helps me to remember that I have a place, and I stood there the year before and said, everybody should have this. Well, the shoulds and shoulds we do. So apparently I should have it. So now it's in my office, and it's a very keen and deep and personal reminder that as we're moving through conflict in our life, maybe one person gets ahead. Maybe one person is ready to give up that, it's your problem, it's your problem, it's your fault, and maybe step through. And I don't mean give in, I mean give up and move into a place of being done. And it might be that field, and you might be ready, and you might be there, and then you're waiting, and you wait for the person to move through and meet you there. There might be people in your lives who are in the field waiting for you as well, to get over something, to move past something, to forgive. Peace. It's resonated with me. Okay. To that end, I have an affirmation today. I let go of anger so I can see clearly. Okay. How about we say this together? I let go of anger so I can see clearly. How about one more time? I let go of anger so I can see clearly. Thank you.
Don't go too far away. I let go of anger so I can see clearly. When I relax and resonate with the understanding that I am one with all that is, I can easily let go of anger because there's nothing to be angry about. And in that is pure clarity, for that is the divine resource we have always at our beck and call, divine clarity. So I'm going to invite us all to simply relax right where we are as we enjoy this time of music and prayer. And a fitting song. There are no accidents. One people living on one planet, joining in one family, we all are one. One people living on one planet, joining in one family, we all are one. One people living on one planet, joining in one family, we all are one. So let's go to that place out in the field as we relax into this moment and listen to this beautiful prayer of Sonia.
Thank you. In the quietness of this moment, in this very, very simple and divine moment, we know that there is only one thing ever going on, and that is oneness. That is the source, and we are all part of it. Divine beings, connected, our divinity running through us, in us, as us. We are divine. We are divinely one. Today I stand in the realization that beauty is everywhere, love is everywhere. Conflict has positive ends. Conflict can be good. We are all in choice, always in choice, always in choice in this moment, this very special moment, gathered here today. We are one. And peace is possible, for inner peace is my journey. I'm grateful for this community. I'm grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful for these teachings. And from this deep well of gratitude, I release these words into a perfectly corresponding law. And together we say, and so it is.
One people living on one planet, joining in one family. We all are one. One people living on one planet, joining in one family. We all are one. We all are one. We all are one. Thank you, Sonia.
I have an interesting memory of that particular song. It really struck me while we were singing that song this time. It's written by a gentleman named Carl Anthony. And Carl Anthony was one of the musicians. He was on the music team and was part of the conference in 2011, February of 2011 in San Diego, where what used to be two organizations, the United Centers for Spiritual Living and the International Centers for Spiritual Living, came up with all the documentation that allowed them to become one organization. And I remember the power of this particular song when that decision was made, and a room full of 700 people all standing and singing this song. It was incredible. It was an incredible energy. And what I love is that we recreate that energy right here every single Sunday. So thank you for that. Continuing on our musical extravaganza, this wonderful song of Pierre Gautreau, and it's a Pierre Gautreau original. I love his original songs. And you know that I've never heard you perform this live, because when you did it last year, I was in Los Angeles. Helen was the speaker that day. So please welcome, for me to hear live, Pierre Gautreau and the Queen Street Band.
This is for you, Jonathan. 1, 2. I wanna write the songs, you wanna sing along and share what I know. You've got a friend in me, we are one, that's all that's needed to know. We are the water, we are the sky, back to the earth when it's time to fly. So let's you and I commit to an extraordinary life. Take a vow from this point now, an extraordinary life. It's yours for the taking. Your mind is making an extraordinary life. I won't settle for less or suppress what's dying to get out of me. Oh, the music comes from my soul. It's a part of me that makes me whole. Cooking up melodic recipes. We are the water. We are the sky. Back to the earth when it's time to fly. So let's you and I commit to an extraordinary life. Take a vow from this point now. An extraordinary life. It's yours for the taking. My thoughts are creating all that I see and all that I do. I get to decide which door to go through. Won't fear the unknown. I'm never alone because all is my home. We are the water. We are the sky. Back to the earth when it's time to fly. All that I see and all that we do, we get to decide which door to go through. Won't fear the unknown, we're never alone because all is my home. Let's you and I commit to an extraordinary life. Take a vow from this point now. An extraordinary life. There's no mistaking. Your thoughts are creating. It's yours for the taking. Your mind is making an extraordinary life.
Pierre Gautreau and the Queen Street Band. So there are no mistakes. Of course, so I spoke, when did we speak? Friday? We spoke on Friday, Sonia and I, and she said, well, what are you talking about on Sunday? I said, I have no idea. And she said, well, I might talk about this, and then, okay, well. And then I sent out an email, and I just gave the talk a title, Peace Out. Peace out, man. And that's really when it hit me. I thought, oh, peace. And then based on something that another practitioner intern is working on for next week. I thought, oh, well, that's perfect. It's light. Light is going to be the theme for next week. And then the week following, when we do our Taizé service, which is basically all music and mindfulness, that's harmony. It's just perfect. So thank you all for that. Thank you for inspiring me. Thank you all for inspiring me. I love music. I really, really, really love music, and I am so grateful that music is such an integral part of this particular center and what we bring to the world. And I'm grateful, too, to have the opportunity to participate in music outside of the center as well, like I did last night in this little concert that I did called All Is Calm. What is All Is Calm? I'm going to talk to you about this concert I did last night. All Is Calm. What is All Is Calm? It's a story that you may have heard about. It's retelling the events of Christmas Eve 1914 on the Western Front during World War I, when the men in the trenches basically decided, of their own accord, to have a truce and sing Christmas carols together and recognize something deeper that was at play, that was beyond enemy lines. And in that moment, what was achieved was peace. Think about that. In that moment, allowing what is inherently a natural attribute for each and every one of us, peace, the expression of peace, was achieved. See, we teach that everything that shows up in our world of form starts off first and foremost as an idea in mind. So as we approach our lives, how are we approaching them? Now, there was a consciousness at that time of conflict. And yet, this group of people, and actually, as I've done more research into this event, it wasn't just one place. It kind of sprung up throughout areas of the Western Front, and all independent of each other. So there's an interesting thing happening there. If we are immersed in a universal mind that knows all things at all times, then it makes sense that if it happens in one place, it happens everywhere. And that is the power that we have. That is the power that we have as individuals. One of the things that Ernest Holmes writes in The Science of Mind is, one standing alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority. So if you think that you cannot affect the world just yourself, I'm going to tell you, you are wrong. I don't often say you are wrong from up here, but you're wrong. We, each of us, affect everything around us by our consciousness. So let's really take that to heart, especially as we experience this season, what is typically referred to as a season of peace. Now, peace is one of the, according to Thomas Troward, one of these 7 attributes of God. The others are love, light, life, power, beauty, and joy. Today, peace. Winston Churchill, remember him? Said this preceding this event in 1914 when he was in service. He said, "What would happen, I wonder, if the armies suddenly and simultaneously went on strike and said some other method..." Wow. I have to read it again. "What would happen, I wonder, if the armies suddenly and simultaneously went on strike and said some other method must be found of settling this dispute?" What would happen? What would happen? This is a point where I invite you to check in as you hear that particular quote. Because on the surface, does your mind agree wholly? I mean, it sounds like a wonderful thing, right? What would happen, I wonder, if the army suddenly and simultaneously went on strike and said, some other method must be found of settling this dispute? Yes, we can all say yes to that, right? Is there any part of your mind that doubts the efficacy of that? Is there any part of your mind that goes to doubt around that being able to happen? Because if we teach that our minds create our experience, we only experience up to the level of our doubt. And so it is up to each and every one of us to hear something like that and begin to embody it wholeheartedly, to understand that we are the point of change. We are the point of peace. And as we express that peace, it translates itself throughout the world. Now, I do think that there is still a collective idea, possibly, that keeps aggression active in our experience. I mean, we see it. It's happening in the world. There are conflicts. There is aggression. There are things that are happening in the world that we all are privy to because we have technology, and we have news reporting, and we have the opportunity to see what's happening in other parts of the world in a very profound way. And sometimes I think that we may be turning a blind eye to it too much. Because again, we are the point at which change begins. Right here, right in this room, right now, we are the point where peace is absolutely possible. What ultimately allows the aggression to dissipate is an understanding of who we are. Because what it comes down to for me, and at the core of this teaching, is unity. Factions do not need to be. Factions are not necessary when we know who we are. There is no need for the conflict when we know who we are. In the lyric of Pierre's wonderful song, it's a wonderful song. It's a wonderful song. In the lyric, he wrote this: "There is no mistaking our thoughts are creating." There is no mistaking our thoughts are creating. All that we see, all that we do, we get to decide which door to go through. That's the important aspect for me. We get to decide. Are you ready to be done with conflict in the world? Are you ready to be done with aggression in the world? Are you ready to be done with the experience of it? Not a rhetorical question. Are you ready? Yes. It is up to each and every one of us to put our mind on only the constructive thoughts that support that idea and not allow anything else to take its place. Not a bit. None of it. It is up to us. We are the point at which it shifts. Shifts.
For all time.
I guarantee you, if you go back and you listen to the archive, there was an F sound in there. It just was not very pronounced.
God is good.
All the time. God is good all the time. We get to decide. We get to decide. Are we moving through the doorway to peace, or are we moving through another doorway? Check in with yourself right in this moment. Which door are you going to go through? And are you ready to drop everything that does not support that? Everything. I mean everything. That there is not a shred of doubt in your mind whatsoever that you are the point of peace expressing infinitely. An experience of resignation to the status quo, which is what I think we actually are all living in to a degree. The experience of resignation to the status quo is a decision. It is a decision. Today, let us decide something new. Let us decide to not give in to the status quo. Let us decide to not give in to the idea of, well, it's always been that way, so it must always be that way, because principle is not bound by precedent. There's nothing that has ever happened that has any bearing on this moment right now moving forward. Another quote so the Winston Churchill quote was one of the ones that we used in the play the play. It's kind of a weird concert-ish play thing. I don't know really how to describe it. Mostly sung through, but we utilize these words from history of letters and documented sayings of people. In particular, Pope Benedict. It's funny, I wrote the 16th. It was actually the 15th because the 16th is the was the previous pope. Yeah. Yes. Pope Benedict the 15th said this: "In the name of the divinity, I beseech thee to cease the clang of arms while Christendom celebrates the feast of the world's redemption." There was an interesting thing that happened when the Pope made that call, when he called upon the world to lay down their arms during this time of Christmas in 1914. The Germans accepted a ceasefire. It was the Allied forces that rejected it. And there's an interesting thing that just happened in the room. Did you notice that? On which side of the equation do you identify? Because I was faced with this in a moment last night, and I wasn't prepared for it, but it happened during the concert. Because the lines that I spoke in the concert were all lines of the German soldier. And it's because I have very good German pronunciation, so they gave me all the German stuff to do. And in the middle of the concert, all of a sudden I thought, oh my gosh, in this particular place, at this particular time, I am playing the other. And that's how we still perceive the conflict. Those of us who were on the side of the Allied forces perceive, I mean, not that we do this now, it's not the case now, Germany is an ally now, right? But during World War I, Germany was the other. And we still conceptualize the conflict of being Germany and the Allied forces. We perceive an other. So when I say something like, the German leaders did not reject the appeal, they agreed to the Pope's appeal for a ceasefire. And the Allied forces rejected the ceasefire, and everybody went, oh. Because we think in our own mind, well, why wouldn't we be the ones to accept a ceasefire? In that, let us begin to recognize the danger of the other. And there is still a part of my own mind that goes to the other. I hear the words World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, conflict in the Middle East, and we perceive an other. The mind goes to, on some level, enemy. As long as our minds resonate with that idea, it shows up in the world of form. It's as simple as that. Most of the stories that were recounted were from sources that were men in the Allied forces. Now, 100 years later, and it is, 1914, it's 100 years later. It's part of the reason we chose to do this concert at this time. 100 years later, can we understand that there are no sides? Can we begin to resonate with that idea? There are no sides. There is only creation. That's it. There is only creation. And if we really look at it, it was true then. It was true then. Because the infinite truth is only constructive, creative energy. We're the ones who muck it up. We're the ones who make a decision in another direction, and we mess it up. So it was true then, they just couldn't see it. It's true now. There are plenty of us who still can't see it. So I want to pull us back more and more. This is the point of my entire ministry, pulling us back more and more to the recognition of our inherent unity. My global intention, I've stated many times, is to eliminate the gap between the human and the divine. And the gap is only in perception, because we think of ourselves as something other. And when we think of ourselves as something other, conflict is possible. Many people come to this philosophy because they want to escape their perception of a conflict with God. For all there is out there, and all the ideas, and there's something also interesting that Sonia said to me before service today. And I want to preface what I'm about to say with this idea. For all that there is only one. That's it, one. There is only God, and that's who and what we are. Now, Sonia, before we had a little discussion, I wasn't really planning. She said, "You're probably going to go off and say something and go off your notes." And yeah, it's true. I do that. She talked about the idea that we must experience conflict, or there must be conflict in order to understand the absence of conflict, or we must experience fear or have fear in our world to have love on the other side. So everything is always perfectly in balance. And my initial thought was, no, that's not what we teach. No. I refuse to accept that. And then I really stepped back and I thought, wait a second. If I pull back and I go to that place of unity and understanding oneness, and understanding that everything, every aspect of the divine is wrapped up in that idea, which it is, because God is all. If I believe that conflict is outside the paradigm of the divine, then I believe that there is something other than the divine. Now, the opportunity that I have is to begin to make wise decisions about how I move forward with that information. Because although the conflict exists in the universal mind, I am at choice about what I allow into my experience from the universal mind. There is no reason for me to glom on to conflict to experience peace or to understand peace. It all starts in mind. I can recognize and know the two sides of that equation, which are just parts of the infinite whole, and I can make a choice about which side I choose to be on. Why does it seem, this is the next question, why does it seem that we are always, at some place on this planet, there's always some state of conflict? And I've kind of already touched on this, there's only one way to be in a state of conflict, and that is focusing on what makes us different. And perceived differences lead to ideas of separation. That's it. It's the only reason conflict exists. So then how do we begin to feel connected? How do we begin to feel connected? I think we have lots of opportunities to feel connected. One of the glorious opportunities that we have, and I touched on it before, I keep talking to Sonia because she's here. But the idea that she is taking this philosophy in her own specific, beautiful way to a place where it really does not exist. And we get to have a dialogue, she and I and the other members of the practitioner class and whomever else. I mean, I'm sure she's not just talking to us. She's got a lot of people here in Toronto that she's talking to, and in Newfoundland and all over the world, I'm sure. But the fact that we have the capacity to really be in contact, it helps us feel more unity. It helps us feel more unity. So I celebrate technology. Let's remember this. Ernest Holmes writes, "We are surrounded by and immersed in a perfect life and peaceful existence. But only as much of this life as we embody will really become ours to use." We are surrounded by and immersed in a perfect life and peaceful existence. But only as much of this life as we embody will really become ours to use. What does it mean to embody? What does it mean to you to embody? Because that is a very profound statement. What Ernest Holmes is saying there is that as we embody that which we are surrounded by and immersed in already, as we embody it and allow that to be the point of view, the point of creation, through each and every one of us, then we experience more and more and more. We experience more love, more light, more life, more peace, power, beauty, joy, wisdom, infinite harmony. To embody, for me, is to be solid in faith. to be unshakable. To be unshakable in my understanding that the opposite of peace has no bearing or place in my life. I'm not talking about any of you. You notice that? In my life, the opposite of peace has no place. All that I accept is peace. And I, right here and right now, one alone in consciousness with the infinite, constitutes a complete majority. And so this is how I experience my life, and this is what I fully expect of the divine creative source to show me in every experience of my life. And so as I walk out these doors today, as I experience life in this city today, as I experience life in this country today, as I experience life in this world today, I know that I am a center of peace. And that's all I accept. Nothing else. How about you? What choice do you make today? Today, I invite you to recognize and accept that your entire being is the effect of peace. And it starts with your causative mind. In his essay on self-reliance, Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote this: "Nothing can bring you peace but yourself. Nothing can bring you peace but yourself." So how much today, how much are you willing to accept? As much as we accept and embody is ours, not to take. It is not something to take, but as much as we accept and embody is ours to experience. And life for me is about the experience. I choose to live an extraordinary life. Let's move away from thinking that anything has to be taken. Think about that. The minute I think something needs to be taken to experience peace, I'm now in conflict. There can be no peace in that. If we want to experience peace, we must be willing to move beyond any idea contrary to peace in our own mind. And the same goes for all divine attributes. If we want love, we must move through any idea contrary to love. If we want joy, we must move beyond any idea contrary to joy. If we want life, we must move beyond any idea contrary to life. Where are you right now? Let us be more open today, right now, letting go of anything that has preceded this moment, because none of that matters anymore. Let us be more open today to allowing our inherent peace out, because that is one of those attributes of God. It is inherent in our nature that we experience only peace. Let's you and I commit to an extraordinary life. Take a vow from this point now, an extraordinary life. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm almost about ready to have you get up and sing it again. From this point now, an extraordinary life. I had the honor, and it was a very emotional experience for me. I had the honor last night of delivering the final line in the show. And as I approached the microphone, and there were World War II veterans that had been introduced and were sitting right in front of me in the front row. And it's one of those situations where, you know, I was an actor for a couple decades, and there are experiences that we have on stage as actors that are so profound, they're beyond words. This was one of those experiences for me. As I stood on the riser, a young man came out from backstage to play the last post on the bugle. And so I'm immersed in this moment. The last post is playing. I've got these veterans in front of me. And in the silence, I make my way down to the microphone, and I could barely squeak out this line. For a single night, no man's, wow. For a single night, no man's land was every man's land. And we, the lowest of the ranks, achieved what the Pope himself could not. In the middle of the war, we had ourselves a Merry Christmas. Ultimately, the rank and file, the soldiers, the men in the trenches, achieved peace because of an idea. First and foremost, it was born of an idea. That idea was beyond fear. That idea was beyond seeming differences. That idea took them beyond appearances of conflict. It was a culmination of the understanding that there is room for all. There is room for all. So let us approach our lives with this at the fore of our thoughts. We are the change. We are the change. One of the very first things, and this is what I'm going to close with today, one of the very first things in the Science of Mind book is this, written by Ernest Holmes. Peace be unto thee, stranger. Enter and be not afraid. I have left the gate open, and thou art welcome to my home. There is room in my house for all. Namaste. I'm going to invite everyone who has something to offer today in terms of a financial contribution to hold whatever it is you're giving the center in your hand. And recognize the offering is born of love, born of peace, and an expression of inherent life, because there is only one life, and that life is fully reflected in money as well, because there is nothing separate from God. So recognize it for what it is. Money is God in action. Money assists this center in doing the great work that we do and allowing this message to be taken to more and more and more and more and more individuals throughout this city, throughout this country. So as we honor our abundance, honor your own abundance at the same time, and as the baskets go around, we're going to have this wonderful new arrangement, an arrangement a la Pierre Gautreau of the song, I Am So Blessed.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I'm so grateful for all that I have. I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful, grateful, grateful. I'm so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful for all that we have. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We're so grateful, grateful, grateful. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful for all that we have. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are grateful, 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 grateful. I am so blessed.
Beautiful. I'll invite Sonia to do a blessing over the offering.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, folks, in this wild and wonderful universe that we are all a part of, across the world and in this very room, there is only ever really one thing going on, and that is love. That is source. And in the knowing that we are intrinsically a part of this divine source, it flows through us. Knowing that our financial contribution today is part of the center's larger creativity, and everything that we see here today is part of what we bring back out into that wonderful, wild, wonderful universe. For money is simply energy, divine loving energy, and your contribution here today moves us forward. Our programs, our offering, this building, it's all a part of who we are. And peace is an inside job. And we thank you. And in gratitude for your contribution today, in whatever way you make it, in gratitude, I release these words into a perfectly corresponding law that will only ever do good. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
It occurs to me that I have not offered gratitude for what happened. Well, I did a little bit, but I also want to tell you the result of what happened last week with our annual gala fundraiser. This is not our gross, this was our net. We netted $6,500 in support of this center. And it's because of you, and for that I am eternally grateful. That money is has been directed to our Center Improvement Fund, and so you will continue to see changes happening at this center, and it allows us to, again, take this wonderful, wonderful philosophy into the world. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to invite us all to relax right where we are.
Let's release anything we think we know. Let's release anything we came in with. Let's release anything that we have heard thus far today, and allow the truth of who we are to simply resonate and shine through. We are love. We are light. We are life. We are power. We are beauty. We are joy. We are peace. This is the point of creation, right here and right now, for all that is to be. Let's celebrate that. When I forget, we are one, and I regret things that I've done. I go within my heart and soul. I start again, knowing I'm whole. God is right here where I am. I am right where I should be, as I fill my mind with peace. I feel it washing over me. God is right here where I am, flowing in and out through me. In this moment, I am free. And so right here in this moment, I recognize and know that power, that creative power is all there is. There is God and nothing else. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is our life right here and right now. Everything is unfolding as greatness, for that is who and what we are, the greatness of this divine energy in form. We are each bringing to it exactly what we require and exactly what we desire. And so I call upon it right here in this moment to bring more joy, more beauty, more love, more light, more peace, more harmony in everything that is experienced. Everything that is experienced now from this point forward is more infused with these attributes. I accept only this. I accept it on behalf of myself, and I accept it on behalf of every single person here. For I know that each of us is a perfect individualized expression of this divine energy, and we are unstoppable. We are unstoppable in our expression. We are unstoppable in our experience. We are goodness. We are God. And for this understanding, I live in eternal gratitude. Grateful for this teaching, grateful for this philosophy, grateful for my participation in it. I am grateful for everyone's participation here today. I'm grateful for everyone who makes this experience of celebration of an idea so beautiful. I am grateful to Judy and Carol, our board members today. I'm grateful for Dane and Lori for setting up. Grateful to our greeters, women, Terry. I'm grateful to Patricia in the bookstore and Carrie in the sound booth. I'm grateful to Tony and Kimon for their brilliant work in allowing us to be, through technology, seen by more than just this room. I am grateful to Helen as our meditating practitioner today. I'm grateful to Sonia for her brilliant words of wisdom and all that she brings. I am grateful. I'm grateful to Pierre Gautreau, Tanis Burnett, the entire Queen Street Band. I am grateful. And so with this feeling of gratitude welling up and expressing more and more, I know that it is the fuel that flames the fire of creation. And so I step out of the way and allow the greatness of God to shine through in everything. I release this word to that perfectly corresponding law. I know that it is complete right here and right now. It is so, as together we say, and so it is. When things go wrong and my way is dark, and when I lose my song and life breaks my heart, I go within my heart and soul. I start again, knowing I'm whole. God is right here where I am. I am right where I should be, as I fill my mind with peace. I feel it washing over me. God is right here where I am, flowing in and out through me. In this moment, I am free. In this
this moment I am free. Thank you. And so finally, we're going to have the band kick it out into the street, taking it up a notch with Listen to the Music. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week. Feel free to get up and dance, folks. Don't you feel it growing day by day? People getting ready for the news. Some are happy, some are sad. Oh, let the music play. What the people need is a way to make them smile. It ain't so hard to do if you know how. Gotta get a message, get it on through. Oh, don't you ask me why. Oh, listen to the music. Oh, listen to the music. Oh, listen to the music all the time. Well, I know you know better everything I say. Meet me in the country for a day. We'll be happy and we'll dance. Oh, we're gonna dance the blues away. And if I'm feeling good to you and you're feeling good to me, there's nothing we can't do or say. Feeling good, feeling fine. Oh, baby, let the music play. Oh, listen to the music. Oh, listen to the music. Oh, listen to the music all the time. Like a lazy flowing river, surrounding castles in the sky, and the crowd is growing bigger, listening for the happy sounds. You gotta let them fly. Oh, listen to the music. Oh, listen to the music. Oh, listen to the music all the time. Oh, listen to the music. Oh, listen to the music. Oh, listen to the music all the time.
Have an awesome week.